Hello out there, all you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for tuning in to another Why You Know Game video. I named this one Batterina Toshinden Review, more or less because I think that the Toshinden series itself actually could use a revival. It's been a while since it's really had a game. And I know that there is a game with the same name on the Wii, but I don't think it's actually a part of the same series, oddly enough. I mean, I think it might be loosely the same thing, but it's not the same thing. And this is something I haven't seen. I haven't really played any of the games past the first one. I've played both the PlayStation iteration as well as the Sega Saturn Remix Edition, which is the one I have that had the extra content and the extra characters. Um, and I think it also had the story mode. I don't remember the original having a dedicated story mode, which is something you don't see very often in fighting games anymore. Is like an actual dedicated story mode for each individual character, and I'm not counting what Street Fighter Five does because that's just like so randomly thrown together. I don't know if you could really count that as a dedicated story for each character. But that aside, Batterina Toshinden was like the other like it was the back when Soul Blade or Soul Edge, depending on whether you played it at home or an arcade, was around. So was Batterina Toshinden, and it's like the other fight. It's the other weapons fighting game. Like this one though, if I were to give them categories, I would say Soul Calibur would be Tekken, and Batterina Toshinden would have been Street Fighter. That's kind of how they work out as far as how they are because Toshinden has like special projectiles and all that stuff, whereas you don't really have all that stuff with Soul Calibur. At least you didn't, as far as I remember. I haven't played 4 and 5, so I don't know for sure. Um, I do need to pick those up though and play them. But as far as I remember, you didn't really have those things. Normal people, even though they were great fighters, they didn't necessarily have those particular. I think I made that analogy wrong. I should have said Street Fighter as opposed to Virtual Fighter. That would have made more sense. Think about it, because Tekken people kind of do have those extraordinary abilities, and I didn't think about that until afterwards. So, but yeah, so yes, Soul Calibur would be Virtual Fighter, and Toshinden would be Street Fighter. And I think like this is something like if they really would like to see fighting games make a comeback, and I think fighting games could make a comeback and be a very very popular genre outside of competitive play. I mean, obviously you want there to be competitive play for these, but outside of competitive play, I think fighting games could really come back to being popular again. I mean, I would love to see all these characters make a comeback and get new life breathed into them and get an update. I'd really prefer they do a rebirthing of the series. That's why I titled the video review as in going back, looking over what you've already done, and starting over. Even though I know the spelling I chose wasn't necessarily meaningful to that, but I like that spelling better for this particular situation. I'm sitting here looking at my game, like wanting to play it. I really have to hook my Saturn up. Like I need to hook it up and play it. I mean, I don't have to hook my PS1 up because I got my PS3 and my PS2 if I really wanted to play in my PlayStation One games. But I think that this is a series like you had weapons based combat. You had characters with special abilities, and for this particular format, you also had ring outs. I don't know how the series progressed. Like I said, I've only played the first game. I've technically only played the first game. I mean, I've seen the other ones. I've only played the first one though. Like, and as a person who enjoyed the hell out of it when it came out, and I was playing it. I'm trying to remember the main character's name. I think his name was Show or something like that. Just like Burning Rangers, named Show. Um, and in this version of the game, he had an elder brother who you ended up fighting toward the end of his story, and he had the same move set, but his moves were like 3 to 4 times better than Show's. I was like, yeah, damn, that's messed up. But it was basically like comparing Ryu to Akuma. Like how the disparity in how the moves are. But that aside, if they could bring back these characters, they could literally what I had in mind, what I was thinking is that they could bring back the game and do it all over, and then do a brand new anime based on the story of that game. But bring it back again with how it was done in Remix, with a dedicated story for each character, give them purpose to why they're fighting in the Toshinden tournament. Uh, but have one storyline be the actual main storyline, and maybe have others that possibly can be resolved along with that storyline, but nothing that conflicts with it as far as the anime would be concerned. Have an arcade mode, obviously a local versus, an online versus, survival mode, a tournament mode, practice mode. Yes, a practice mode, and a training mode that could teach you like the each character's nuances and things like that. They could update the characters' move lists, and things of that nature. They could possibly bring tongue. They could possibly bring characters from later installments in the series backwards and give them a basis in this story. Not necessarily all of them. You wouldn't want like any main enemy type character to be dragged back, but maybe just like some minor side characters, bring them down too, and then they can have a start in the story that way. Uh, I would love to see the gameplay stay relatively the same. Obviously, it would have to look better. It would have to run better. Um, I would do away with not do away with having arenas have a ring out, but probably no. I take that back. I would do away with that. I'd probably make it more dead or alive style, where you have a lot of the combat. I mean, keep the characters' special moves and all that stuff. Keep the extraordinary powers and shit that they have. But as far as like combat is concerned, like if you knock somebody off the edge or something, they fall to a different plane, not necessarily just a ring out. I mean, you could have that option. You could literally have that option to actually have a ring out, but make it like a layered type of thing where you don't necessarily know if you knock somebody off or if you get knocked off, if you're going to get a ring out. You could possibly get knocked off of where you are and land on another plane to fight and have a chance to make a comeback, or you could just be at randomly knocked the fuck off and that's it. That's the that's the round over. Now I'm saying if somebody's knocked off the top of a building, count that as a ring out. But if you get knocked, like let's say you get knocked down a flight of fucking stairs, not a ring out. Just typical stuff like that. Like I know it would take a lot of work to really think something like that over, and I would be one to want to see it and play it. I mean, shit, I really have to. I'm going to either I'm going to set up my Sega Saturn, or I'm going to take my wife's PC and put the Saturn emulator on it and start playing my Saturn games. 'Cause I'm starting to miss playing them. it was like a show, and then like the dude that he is rivaled with, I can't remember his name, but he wears like the black jacket and has like the shirt and everything, and the short orangish red hair. Like anybody who's played it should be able to. Anybody who's played it would know who I'm talking about, not necessarily remembering all the damn names. I really have to get back into playing my games so I can remember these characters. Like I know the characters, I don't remember all their damn names. But I would like to see like it just get started over, revamped, and brought to a newer audience. This is another game series that just kind of it came out, it did well for a little while, and then it just drifted off, and nobody really tried much with it. So I want to see it come back and get restarted, get a new build up, start over, start fresh. Not saying change all the characters out, keep the characters, just rebuild it. Start from scratch, bring the game back, bring it to a newer audience, build these characters up, give them new moves, give them new tactics to be able to avoid and continue combat and all that stuff. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of improvements that have happened with technology and games over the long haul that I could see bringing back something like this, and it getting a complete overhaul would be a great thing for it. Because I mean, back then, limitations really did slow the games down, especially 3D fighter type games. So those limitations aren't as prevalent as they were before. There's an opportunity to remake all of this stuff and make it better. Make it even better than what it was. And possibly bring forward a new audience that will enjoy it and gravitate to it. I'm not saying it has to be the most expensive game ever made, just one that has decent effort put into it. And I think if more effort was put into games than money, we'd have a lot better games. But that's it for right now. I don't really have anything else to say because otherwise I'm not really trying to sit down and talk about breaking down every mechanic of the video game because that would take forever. And these videos are not meant to be super long-winded. They're meant to be short to the point. Kind of just say, hey, this is the game I think would be pretty good, or this series I think would be pretty good to bring back, or this is something I think would be good for these particular games if it was done, and then move on. So thank you guys very much for listening. Keep your eyes and ears out for more stuff from me, and until the next time, enjoy your games. Peace out.